Hey guys, Derek here with another video, and yeah, in my 1,000 subscriber video, I had asked like what people wanted to see on the channel, and a lot of people said more shooter slash shmup content. So I figured like I've been sitting on doing this video for a while, and I just haven't had the desire or energy to do it, but I figured I would bust it out. Anyways, starting with this, the first half of these games are going to be just like normal retail release games that came out for the actual Dreamcast library, and then the other ones are going to be games that have released by other publishers since then. But basically, a lot of the retail release ones are all going to be like Capcom shooters. Anyways, this first game isn't going to be a Capcom shooter. It's going to be a game called Expendable, and this is kind of like a B tier, like shovelware, like run and gun shooter. Like, there's nothing too special about this game. You play like a soldier, like it's very generic. You play a soldier, you run in, you shoot a bunch of crap, progress through each level, you shoot a bunch more crap, and then you fight bosses and stuff. Like, there's just nothing really like a huge draw about this game other than it's generally a really cheap game. So if you come across it, yeah, like I wouldn't expect to pay more than like $5 or $10. Like, it's a very cheap game. Next game up is the only repro shooter that I have in my collection, but I guess it's a pretty good repro to have. So like the original of this game, like the actual game, Cannon Spike is a very expensive Dreamcast game. And while this game is really fun, I don't think it's worth the price. So look into the repro if you really want to play this game. But like this is actually a really good game. Like, this one is another like run and gun style shooter, except for like it's got kind of like classic Sega arcade like gameplay mechanics. Like, you're on a stage, you fight like wave after wave of enemies, and then like at the end of those waves of enemies, you fight like an in-stage boss, and in-stage boss usually is pretty big and pretty complicated. And as you progress through the game, it becomes more and more like bullet hell, and you can unlock like different Capcom characters, and each Capcom character that you play has like their special abilities, or whatever their special abilities were in their respective games. So yeah, like, this is a pretty cool game. And like I said, if you don't really want to pay the high prices for some of these games, definitely look into the repros. All right, so those are my run and gun shooters. The rest of the retail release games are going to be just like traditional shooters that you would pretty much imagine. So first we have Gigawing, and this is a very good vertical scrolling shooter. And the next, well, I guess there's nothing to show on the back. This one, the next one, and then the one after it are all going to be probably like the most sought after Dreamcast shooters. So you can see, like, I ended up getting this off a forum, and it came with the manual and then just the game, and then it came in just like a generic case. And I thought about trying to make this complete, but I don't think paying like $20 or $30 just for a back insert art is really worth it. So this works out just fine for me. But in this game, like, you play, like I said, it's a vertical scrolling shooter, and this game is really all about like the bullet hell gameplay mechanics of it, and then just racking up an ungodly score. And the mechanics of this game is that you basically have like a reflecto force. Yeah, I think it's called reflecto force. But basically, like, you can fire enemy bullets back at them, and when you do that, you end up racking up a lot of points. So like, you pick up these gold pieces that fall down, and the more of those gold pieces you pick up, the higher the point multiplier that you have is. And then at the end of the stage, whatever your final score is, gets multiplied by your, hopefully at that point, ungodly high multiplier. And then you have just like this insane gameplay point total at the end of the stage, like I said. The hard part about this game, though, like I said, it's bullet hell, and if you don't really get the mechanics of reflecting bullets back at your enemy, you're going to suffer. And then the next one up is Gigawing 2. It's basically the same thing as Gigawing as far as like gameplay mechanics goes, except in Gigawing 2 you now have reflecto laser, and instead of just being able to reflect bullets back at your enemy, you can like just absorb or like the bullets that they shoot at you, and then like target every enemy on the screen and then kill them. So you can either pick reflecto laser or reflecto force. And yeah, so this one I do have like completely complete in box, and it's a little harder to find in Gigawing 1. So I guess the collector in me is happier about that. But like I said, gameplay wise, it's still just really fun to play in general. And then we have the next evolution of basically Gigawing, which is Mars Matrix, which has a lot of the same gameplay mechanics except for like a million more. Like this is a super complicated game to play, and I would highly not suggest this game if you are just getting into shooters, unless you really come across it at a good price, because this one probably is one of the most expensive shooters on the Dreamcast. But this game is like bullet hell through and through. Like I was talking about, there's just like a million different gameplay mechanics with this game. You can absorb enemy bullets. Well, not so much absorb, but just like catch them and then fire enemy bullets back. You can like do point multipliers, combos. Like it's just, there's a lot going on in this game, and I guess it's not for the faint of heart. And then one of my personal favorites on the Dreamcast, Gunbird 2. Gunbird 1 actually released on the PlayStation 1 in at least North America as Mobile Light Force, and then Gunbird 2 released as Gunbird 2. But this game is basically a more traditional, like, vertical scrolling shooter, and I like the sprite-based like design of this game. It looks basically like a fantasy-based, like, vertical scrolling shooter. Kind of like, I guess, like Dragon Blaze, and like that, the color palette in this game is just really appealing to me. And then you can play as Morrigan, which is like probably my favorite Darkstalkers character, and probably one of my favorite Capcom characters. Yeah, so you can play as her, which I really, really like. And then, like I said, just gameplay mechanics are just more so traditional shooter than any of the other Dreamcast shooters. And then the last game I have that's going to be one of my retail releases is Bangai-O. And this game released on the N64, then it got re-released on the Dreamcast where they changed around some stuff. Then it got re-released on the DS where they made it basically a boss rush game. And this is another one where I got off a forum. The manual and disc were a really good deal, and then I just threw it in a generic case, and I don't really care to pay extra money for a back insert, but if I ever come across one for basically free, I guess I'll get it. Basically, like, where your points come from in this game is destroying as many enemies as you can at one time, or just like keeping a chain of explosions going, and then the more explosions that you have going on there, the higher the point, I guess, multiplier is. So the big draw in this game is baiting a lot of enemies into attacking you, or like getting them on the screen and then killing them all at one time. Alright, the next two games are going to be two import games that I have for the Dreamcast. And yeah, so the first game up is Zero Gunner 2. This basically is like Under Defeat, and it's a helicopter shooting game. I don't remember if in Under Defeat if you could turn around 360 degrees, but in this game you can turn around 360 degrees, so you can like shoot it basically everything on screen. You can shoot behind you, shoot in front of you, shoot to the side of you. And I think in Under Defeat it was just you could shoot like 180 degrees in front of you. But yeah, there's nothing really special about this game. Like I said, it's basically like Under Defeat, and it's just a traditional vertical scrolling shooter, but in a helicopter. And then we have Trigger Hardik Celica, and this game is pretty cool in that there's like, you can shoot in this game, but like the big mechanic of this game is kind of like Solo to Robo on the DS. This camera is killing me today. You can grab your enemies and then spin them around and then throw them back at other enemies, and then like doing that causes more damage and increases your points. You can grab ships of varying size and complexity, and it's kind of cool to take like a giant ship and just beat the hell out of everything on the screen and then throw it at a boss or something like that. Like, this game is pretty interesting, and like you don't see that mechanic of being able to throw ships at other ships really ever outside of this game. But yeah, cool import. Alright, and then outside of the retail release games, there are companies that still make Dreamcast games to this day, and HuCast and NG Dev Team are basically like the two big companies that do it. So I'll show some of the games that I have from them. The first game up is Ghostblade. So with these games, they're hard to come by. Like, NG Dev Team's website sells games every now and then, but they usually sell them in bundles. And getting them in bundles is a lot cheaper than buying them individually. But not all games that they've developed and published are available on their site. So I've had to buy some on eBay, and then like some games I couldn't find on eBay were cheaper on their website, but I had to buy the bundle to get them. So I ended up getting doubles essentially of some of these games. So Ghostblade I ended up getting because I thought, based on the word blade, that this was going to be a game that mirrored the Soldier series, but it doesn't. This game, I guess it's just, it's I guess it's kind of like Gigawing in a sense. Like gameplay wise, it's a vertical scrolling shooter, and yeah, like I guess scoring high points is basically what this game comes down to. Like there's nothing too insane about it, and there's nothing really shitty about it, but it's I guess just a relatively decent game. Like it doesn't go for a high price or anything either, so if you wanted to play this game, you could fairly easily. And then the next game up is one, I guess it's fairly controversial, but at this point it's so convoluted with just how many different versions there are. But this is another one where I ended up getting a bundle because it was cheaper to get some of the other games that I wanted. But it's basically Dux 1.5. So there's Dux, regular just Dux, and I think there was like regular Dux 1.1 or 1.2 or something like that. And then they did Dux 1.5, and then there's another game that I'm going to show. But this game is basically an R-Type clone and side-scrolling shooter. It's not a bullet hell type shooter at all. It's fairly slow-paced, and I guess like one of the fixes that they did is when you used to die in like the original version of this game, you had to start to level over, and like you had to go through a series of menus and stuff. But in this game, it's just like you die, you respawn where you were. So consistency wise, like you can just keep playing through this game pretty easily. So that makes it a lot more accessible. And then it's not bullet hell like I was saying. So it's fairly slow paced and easygoing, like well, easygoing relative to like a bullet hell style game. But gameplay wise, I guess it is fairly difficult at points. But if you have a Dreamcast and you want to get into shooters, this is probably one of the better ones to like kind of ease into it. Music in this game is really good too. Okay. And then Redux is another game here. Come on. So this is Redux Dark Matters version 1.1. I think there's other versions of this game. I don't really remember. Like that I was talking about, like this, the Dux series is just so convoluted with what game is actually current and then what game is actually like the best version of whatever Dux title you're talking about. So definitely do some research if you want to get this game, or if you find one cheap and you just want to play it, just grab it. But this is basically another R-Type style game, and just another game in the Redux series, or in the Dux series. Alright, so those were the HuCast games. Next are going to be the NG Dev Team games. So first we have Last Hope, Pink Bullets. This is actually a re-release of the first game, Last Hope, and they called it Pink Bullets because people were complaining that it was very hard to see enemy bullets. So they went back and made them pink to make them easier to see. So you get Pink Bullets Last Hope. This is another side-scrolling R-Type clone, and this one I think is probably better than Dux, but it was one of NG Dev Team's like early released shooters, and as they've released more games, they've gotten better and better, like quality wise. But this is still like a really high quality game, and yeah, really cool game. So we have that, and then we have Fast Striker. So Fast Striker and Gunlord are probably like the two NG Dev Team games that people will talk about and say like, get on the ball and get these games. This one is pretty cool. This one kind of reminds me, I guess, of like a bullet hell version of Gunbird, and like the graphics of this game look really cool. Actually, is this? No, this one is kind of like another game I'm going to show. It's like a 3D, really good looking vertical scrolling shooter, and yeah, like music in this game looks good, graphics look good, gameplay wise it's very tight, and yeah, it's this one, like I said, this game and Gunlord are probably like the two really big shooters. and NeoXY, like people call it NeoXY. I don't really know how to pronounce it. This game is the one that reminds me of Gunbird. So yeah, like it's sprite based. There's a lot going on the screen. There's a lot of like, I don't know, like bullet hell. It's like basically like Gunbird bullet hell, like I was saying with Fast Striker. But yeah, like this game, like boss enemy designs, I think were probably like really good looking. And like I said, the music is really good looking, and it's basically like Gunbird in space with more graphical prowess. But like I would say this game is probably one of the better ones to try and pick up. And then like I don't think this one's very expensive at all. And then, like I said, we've got Gunlord, which is probably like one of the games people will always recommend to get because it's basically like a Metroidvania style Turrican clone. So it's Metroidvania in the sense that you explore these big levels and then you have to like figure out puzzles in order to progress and like figure your way through paths and stuff. And it's Turrican in the way that there's all kinds of like powerful gun upgrades and like powerful enemies and stuff you have to fight. And yeah, this game is hard as F. But like it's a really cool game to play through. And then like NG Dev Team actually just put up this game, Fast Striker, and Last Hope, I think, like a bundle for $80 to get all 3 games. So it's not a bad price considering that I think individually they're about $50 to $60 on eBay, like secondhand. But yeah, like Gunlord, definitely a cool game. And then like the NG Dev Team games released on Neo Geo MVS carts or cassettes, whatever the hell those things are called, like the big ass cartridges as well. But those things individually are like hundreds of dollars. So I would rather go with the Dreamcast games. And then the last game that I have here is probably my favorite of the aftermarket Dreamcast games, but it's going to be Stormwind. And the music in this game is phenomenal. The graphics in this game is phenomenal. The first time playing through this game, though, it's kind of hard to know what you have to dodge and what you can interact with and what's going to attack you and stuff. But I guess you play it more and more, the game gets a little bit easier to play as you like figure out what you can and can't hit and stuff. Like I said, the music in this game is really the huge draw for me. Like I can just sit and listen to this soundtrack over and over. Like I think Soldier Blade is the only other like shooter that I think has better music than this game. But like this game also had a big limited edition box set that I really wanted to get, but it was really hard to track down. But I was able to manage to track one down, and this is what that looks like. So this is the box. It's like this really thick box, and it's got this magnetic seal on it. And then when you open it up, there's a copy of the game and then the ship. And yeah, like I really wanted to get this because I just freaking love this game, and I was able to track it down. But there's still a few Dreamcast shooters that I want to get, but Dreamcast shooters are just so expensive these days, and the prices are only getting higher with each passing day. So I'll probably just accept that I'm not going to get all the shooters on the Dreamcast. But yeah, guys, that's my Dreamcast shooter collection. I think after this, I'm going to do just like my favorite top 10 shooters across all systems, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hope you guys are having a great week, and take it easy. Later.